Welcome! Coral Reef Aquarium School, Basic. Today is our 14th episode and we will be talking about fish. Okay, some general things about fish in a saltwater reef aquarium is, first tip is I would advise you to research and learn about every fish before you purchase a new one. And internet is full of experience and information, and furthermore ask your local fish store for a final opinion before you purchase a new breed of fish. Now, why do I say that? Yeah, there is a lot of beautiful fish in the coral reef and also in the trade, but some of these fish are predatory. They can eat fish you already purchased. Some fish are territorial, so if you're keeping territorial fish and you introduce a new fish in that tank, it might actually kill that intruder. Then other fish, they feed on coral, and some fish, they will require 100-liter aquarium, whereas others will require 1,000-liter. Some of these fish will do well on pellets, others will need live food. And some fish, they simply don't do well in captivity. They will die. But other fish, they might just be perfect for you in your aquarium. And that is the one we want to find. About fish in the reef aquarium, I think there's a tendency that you keep less dense fish population, typically a little bit bigger specimens if you compare to freshwater. But it's just a tendency. It's not the rule. And furthermore, I think when you start purchasing your fish, look for healthy individuals, preferably good color, fat, and they are taking food already in the store. So ask if it's taking food and have a look what food it is taking. That will increase your success rate dramatically. Okay, on the fish side, we will focus on one specimen, being the common clownfish. This is a very easy fish to keep. It feeds on brine shrimps, mysis, flakes, pellets, and more. The thing with it is that it can grow to become very large, up to 11 centimeters. So to do well in as an adult individual, you will need a tank size of somewhere 100 to 120 liters. So quite a big tank for this fish actually. Some of the funny facts about it is that this fish is also commonly available as tank bred, and typically the tank bred clownfish, they're easier to keep. The survival rate is a lot better. Then in nature they typically live in a small group or a pack, and also that this fish, they're hermaphrodites, meaning that they, in this case, they grow up as male and the biggest one in the pack turns female, but you can't go back. And typically if you have two females very close to each other, they will not be nice to each other, so try to avoid keeping two females. Also, this fish form a symbiotic relationship with anemones, and if it doesn't find an anemone, it will find a substitute coral. And what it does is it develops a resistance versus the poison stings from the anemone. So, and the relationship is symbiotic. Furthermore, they are territorial. So when you go down and do some maintenance in your tank, they might swim and greet you, but maybe it's not for greeting. Maybe it is to try to drive you off. And they can bite. And some of these bites can actually become infected because you have some nasty bacteria in the aquarium. So treat it well if it happens to you. Okay, that was it about fish. In our next episode, we will be focusing on corals, and we talk about the first coral being the mushroom coral. And now we will do as we usually do and transition into the project phase. I hope you stay tuned. Okay, so for the project phase, my biggest problem with the project tank is that it is small. It's definitely on the minimum size to keep fish. To deal with that, I have selected to introduce 3 juvenile clownfish. These are tank bred, so they are raised in a limited space. They're raised in a group, but they haven't met any corals yet or any anemones. So I expect them to be quite confused to the beginning, and it'll take maybe a month, maybe 2 months before they start settling in their anemone or a substitute coral. About keeping this small juvenile clownfish in such a small tank, yeah, I will keep them for a limited period, only for the duration of the project, or until they are big enough to move into a bigger tank. And for your information, I already have a bigger tank available. It's not published on YouTube, so I am prepared to do a quick move if we think they've outgrown this small environment. Now, typically clownfish, they're quite steady to one spot in the reef tank, where they have their anemone or their substitute coral. But as the fish goes hungry, it will start moving out on a food search. And the bigger the fish, the wider the search becomes, because it dares to move out of the protection that the anemone is providing. So typically that means that for an 11 centimeter big clownfish, it will need 120 liter tank to do well. But we're not at 11 centimeter, we're at barely 1 centimeter with these small clownfish. But I think they will be a nice addition in this tank, and I think they will thrive and do well. And if we think differently, we will move them to a better habitat. With that said, I would also like to add that I will be feeding them with pellets and some flakes, and you see here what types I'll be using. And with that introduced, let's have a look at our new inhabitants, and I wish you a pleasant evening, and thank you for your attention. Bye bye.